Hello everyone. Today we're going to learn about two-step equation for Mathematics 8. Before we start, there are some prior knowledge that you need to know. You need to know how to solve one-step equation. For example, to be able to solve equations like x plus 5 equals 12 or 3y equals 21. You need to know how to use the opposite operation. The learning objective is that you can solve linear equations that require two steps by performing opposite operations in the opposite order of operations. Let's get started with the first example question. Solve for x. 2 times bracket x minus 3 bracket equals 14. So in order to solve this two-step equation, we first need to understand what is the opposite order of operation. In this case, imagine that you're x here, and you want to find the order of operation on that x. So because there's a bracket, the bracket tells us that we should do that inside the bracket first. So on x, the minus 3 happens first, and then times 2 happens. When we're solving the equation, we're going the opposite order of operation, which means we need to get rid of the times 2 first, and then we need to get rid of the minus 3 afterwards. First, before we get started, I'm going to reorder this equation, the left-hand side, by saying x minus 3 times 2 equals 14. I'm doing that just because this way I can see the operation of 2 a bit more clearly. So let's get rid of the times 2 first. How do I get rid of times 2? How do I do opposite of times 2? Well, opposite of times 2 is divided by 2. So let's divide it by 2 on both sides. Times 2 divided by 2 will remove each other. So I'll have x minus 3 left over. And the 14 divided by 2, that's 7. So that's the first step done. The second step here is to remove the minus 3. What is opposite of minus 3? Well, it's plus 3. So let's do plus 3 on both sides. So that's going to be minus 3 plus 3. They remove each other. So that's x left. And the 7 plus 3, that's 10. The final answer is x equals 10. Let's annotate the work here. The first thing that I did was reorder the multiplication. And why am I doing that? I'm doing that because I want to see the operation of 2 more clearly. To see the operation on 2 more clearly. Please notice that we can only do this, the reordering of operation, for multiplication and addition. I cannot do it for division or subtraction. And then I did divide by 2 on both sides. And I did divided by 2 on both sides because the opposite of times 2 is divided by 2. And then I did plus 3 on both sides. So these are all opposite operations. Times 2 divided by 2, minus 3 plus 3. And that is my final answer. Let's try the second example question. Solve for x. This time you have x over 4 minus 2 equals negative 1. So once again, we think about the order of operation. Imagine that you're x here, and what is the first operation that is being done on x? Well, in this case, there's no bracket here, so we follow the regular. We first need to do multiplication and division, and then we do plus addition and subtraction. So in this case, the division happens first, and then we do the subtraction. Then what is the opposite order of operation? The regular order of operation tells me that we need to do divide by 4 first, and then we do minus 2. The opposite would be, let's get rid of minus 2 first, and then get rid of the divided by 4. So in this case, the first thing that I do is going to be getting rid of the minus 2. How do I get rid of minus 2? What is the opposite of minus 2? Well, that's plus 2. So I add 2 on both sides. Minus 2 plus 2, they would cancel each other out. So that's x divided by 4, x over 4. And on the right-hand side, negative 1 plus 2, you can use your calculator. Negative 1 plus 2 is 1. So I've first step is done. X divided by 4 is 1. X over 4 is 1. Sometimes people forget that fraction is indeed just division. So let's write it as x divided by 4 equals 1. And this way it's a bit clearer about what we need to do. How do I undo divided by 4? What is opposite of divided by 4? It's multiplied by 4. So let's do multiplied by 4 on both sides. Divided by 4, multiplied by 4, they'll cancel each other out. So I have x left on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, 1 times 4 is simply just 4. So that's my final answer. Let's annotate the work here. We first need to do the opposite order of operation. The opposite order of operation tells we should get rid of the minus 2 first. Then divided by 4. Okay? I use the analogy of wearing a jacket. You put on an inner jacket, and then you put on the outer jacket in that order. However, when you go home, when you're taking off the jackets, you take off the outer jacket first, and then you take off the inner jacket. In this case, divided by 4, it happens first. It's your inner jacket. Minus 2 is your outer jacket. And when you're removing them, we should take off the outer jacket first. So let's get rid of the minus 2 first. So that's why I did let's do plus 2 on both sides. And then also from here, I rewrite over 4 as divided by 4. This is a thing that I like to do for fractions because sometimes people forget that fraction is division. And then I do multiply by 4 on both sides, times 4 on both sides. And then I get the answer. Now let's review the vocabulary and the formula. So today we talked about the two-step equation. A two-step equation means it's an equation that takes 2 steps. And the difficult part about the two-step equation is that not only you have to take the 2 steps, but it also because you need to know which step to do first. And in order to know that, we need to understand the idea of opposite order of operation. So to solve a variable, we need to work backwards in the order of operation. So the usual order of operation that we know of, the bed mass, the bread mass, we need to go the other way around. So if you have addition and subtraction, we need to do that first. If you have multiplication and division, you want to do that next. If you have a bracket, you want to do that last. Thank you for tuning in this video, and I'll see you in the next one.